Hello, my dear adult children of alcoholics and people from otherwise dysfunctional families. This is video number 5, Relationship Patterns of Adult Children of Alcoholics, in which I will be going over the phenomena of finding fixer-uppers. Oftentimes, adult children of alcoholics tend to find themselves in relationships with people who are struggling with addiction, who have a lot of failed hopes and dreams, and put themselves in a victim-like stance. And adult children of alcoholics start helping these people, right? Helping out with the addictive patterns, helping people get back on track with their careers and jobs or relationship issues, things of that nature. So this is a common pattern, and I'm going to be going over reasons for why this pattern gets embedded starting from childhood, and then I will go over how to be mindful of this pattern. And before I get into reasons and so forth, I just want to say that this idea of helping others, right, and finding your self-esteem and helping others, and what's called, codependency or whatnot, in reality, it's already a constitutional pattern. It's a personality constitution. So this is something that is practically impossible to change. If you find yourself in a position of codependency, it's very, very difficult to change. It's a personality trait. What I would actually suggest is gaining mindfulness over that, and channeling that desire to help other people in really positive ways. And I'm going to talk about this later in the video as well. So let's start off with what are some of the reasons, what happens to people that find themselves in relationships in which they are the helping partner. So the first is the developed good girl, good boy syndrome. So if you grew up in a dysfunctional family, alcoholic family, it's likely that your parents were highly critical of you. You can never do anything right. And thus gets this idea, this feeling that if I am a really good boy or a good girl, there's going to be some form of a reward for me, right? If I only do things right, if I'm only loyal and helpful and well behaved and know my boundaries and I contribute to this family or to other people, there's a strong felt sense of a reward. And also if I neglect my own needs, right? If I'm easy to deal with, but I'm helpful, then there's going to be some form of a reward for me. I'm going to be recognized. People are going to treat me well. There's going to be a scene. This is going to be seen, right, of how loyal I am and how much I contribute. In reality, that's not the case, right? So if you want to get people to treat you well, you want to be treated in a certain way in a relationship, you actually have to coach others, right, and how to do that. And you're not going to establish value for yourself just because you're good to other people. And most likely, there's not going to be any kind of reward for you at the end of the day. Either people are going to recognize you and love you for who you are, or they're not, right? So, but there's a strong felt sense, this good boy, good girl syndrome. If I'm only good enough, if I'm only loyal enough, there's going to be a reward. And oftentimes for adult children of alcoholics who are on the younger side, late teens, early 20s, oftentimes they develop a sense of unfairness, right? Like, I'm so good and loyal and I treat these people so well, my friends, my partner, whatever, and I don't get the same kind of treatment back. It is unfair, right? And so if you find yourself, or if you can reflect back, if about holding this pattern, you might be falling into it, this good boy, good girl syndrome. So the second reason why people from dysfunctional families or alcoholic families find themselves in these relationships where they're fixing someone is that there's a comfort in it. Well, because you grew up helping your parents, right, or helping people in the environment around you, it is a natural position for you to be in. And it actually helps you kind of relieve your anxiety, right? So it helps you build your self-esteem, your worth, makes you feel capable, knowing that you can be of help to others. And the truth is, once again, it's a personality constitution. It's about living in the world um, through being of value and necessity to other people, and oftentimes not even being sure what it is that you're needing, right? So feeling that um, feeling that you are helpful to someone is already almost like good enough, right? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It can be channeled in positive ways. There's people who need to be in helping professions like nurses and teachers and psychologists and doctors and so many other fields, right? In which you can find yourself doing just that professionally and gaining a sense of esteem from that, and also understanding your personality through that standpoint. Things go wrong when you start helping out people that are not treating you well in response, or that are not needed, or you find yourself in toxic relationships, or you're being abused. So that's where that function, right, doesn't really turn out very well. But if you're actually, if this is something that you derive esteem from, and this is something that you enjoy doing, if this is your position in this world, right, there's nothing wrong with that. And the third one is developed low self-esteem. So if you come from a dysfunctional family, you struggle from self-esteem problems, you find yourself in this pattern of being with partners who are very much dependent on you, ask yourself and just imagine a scenario. What would it be like to be with someone who is happy, healthy, successful, and someone who doesn't really need you? Someone who doesn't, come to you all the time with their problems, or is in a never-ending sense of struggle, right? What would it be like for you to be with someone like that? And if you have deep self-esteem issues, find yourself in this pattern, you might begin to feel afraid. You might begin to feel anxiety. You might begin to feel some form of a resistance to this idea. This might be unimaginable for you. And if that's the case, there's something to look into deeper, right? But being mindful of that um, is already a lot. So those are kind of like the reasons, right? Good girl avoid syndrome, low self-esteem, and also finding yourself in this function of helping others and being drawn to it no matter what, whether it is productive and healthy for you, or not productive and unhealthy. So what are some of the solutions? So you want to identify your secondary gains. I think the best way to build mindfulness around these issues are secondary gains. What are you getting out of? So you might be complaining about, finding yourself in these positions. Why do I always end up with these people? Yada, 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 yada. But what are your secondary gains? Look inside yourself. Some of the secondary gains, go back to reasons, right? This felt feeling of goodness. You have to be a loyal person and help others. And this is how you feel good about yourself. And this is what allows you to maintain your sense of esteem. So that's a secondary gain, right? Because it's a positive feeling that you're getting out of being in this situation. What would it be like for you to, abandon someone, or let them go, or let them do their thing, or leave the relationship? Could you handle the feeling of guilt that you might experience with that, if that occurs? So that sounds of goodness. Some other secondary gains is maintaining control. So if you find yourself in relationships with people who are struggling, in a way, you're helping them and you're also controlling them. So you have this opportunity to exercise control, which can help you relieve your anxiety about other things, about things that are not going well for you in life, or kind of areas of, of life in which you are afraid to engage in. Are there things that you want to do that you're afraid to do? But by shifting your attention onto other people and onto their problems, you relieve yourself of what is undone or unmet or is not working for you. So being mindful of that. Are there things that you're avoiding um, within kind of your own life and your own progression through over involvement with other people? And the third, that what would it be like to be with someone who's not dependent on you? Do you need someone to be dependent on you to help you maintain control, relieve your sense of anxiety, to feel needed. So look into secondary gains. What are some feelings that you are getting out of these relationships? How is it working for you? How is it functioning? And building mindfulness around that. And once you have the mindfulness around that, you can answer these questions. Well, why is it that I'm falling into these patterns? Then you can decide what to do next. You can continue to be in this pattern, which is totally okay. You can continue to disengage. I think the one way to change patterns is not so much by finding relationships with people who are different, because you might simply not be attracted to them. And I think it's an unfair ask of yourself to find different people who are unfamiliar and actually be able to maintain a relationship with them. I think that's too difficult. But what you could start doing is you can start being mindful of, oh, I'm being pulled towards this person right now, or I'm being pulled towards this situation right now. What am I getting out of this? Why is it that I want to be a part of it? Why is it that I want to drop everything that I'm doing and rush and help? Why is it that why is it that I'm with this um, partner who's struggling with addictions, and I'm constantly, helping them through rehab, et cetera, et cetera? What am I getting out of this? And then once you know what you're getting out of this, you can consciously say, I'm just going to let this situation go, and I'm going to let this person deal with it on their own. I have been there time to time to help, but right now I can't. Or I'm going to let my partner kind of do their thing, and I'm going to try not to step in and control the situation right now. And, I might need like an extra hour of sleep this morning. So instead of solving this problem for someone, I'm just going to go ahead and like allow this to myself. And I might not feel like such a good girl and a good boy at the end, but that's something that I'm gonna have to live with and allow myself to hold, right? And so being mindful of these patterns, your secondary gains, and then instead of making some form of a radical switch, which feels unrealistic, keeping track of it and learning to maybe say no to certain situations, to certain times, if that is what you're wanting. So let me know in the comments below, what did you think about this video? Is this relevant? Do you feel like you can relate or not? Why not? Make sure to check out my 8-week workshop for adult children of alcoholics and my book. All the links are below, as well as my one-on-one coaching practice. And I hope to see you in my next video, so make sure